So we're a local chapter of the FAC Flying Aces Club, which is a national club. Actually has folks in England and South Africa, Israel, and around the world, but mostly it's in the United States. And we're a Massachusetts chapter, the Stealth Squadron, and we have a meet here. This is our second year having the meet here at the Collings Foundation. They've graciously let us use the field. It's a fantastic field. A little bit small for our purposes, so we run 10% motors, which means a shortened motor to limit the flight of our models, but we can still oftentimes lose the models off the field. The club has been around. The Flying Aces Club got its start in the 1930s, and had a comic book and kits and stuff like that. And eventually petered out a little bit, but then was revitalized in the late 60s with a group in Connecticut. And they basically founded the modern version of what we are today. There's probably 1,500 to 2,000 members nationally and worldwide. And our chapter here, we probably have 20 active members, another 15 or so that are semi-active. So we build, design, build, and fly elastic-powered model airplanes, and they're all free flight, no radio or anything to control them. So we trim them very carefully, as you could see in some of the videos, and then release them to the wind. And these guys can get these planes flying for several minutes. We've even had some fly off the field. We had one last year that was in sight for 26 minutes before we couldn't see it anymore. It was that high. So they can really do some wondrous things with the elastic motors. We wind them up 1,000 to 2,000 times, and so there's a lot of power there, and they have some great models. So a little bit more about the models themselves. We run a whole different list of events, from scale to embryo, which is basically a model that flies really well and it's simple to build, to no-cal. That's a very simple build, a very flat model. And again, we compete. You'll see mass launches where we launch all at the one time, and in those events, so we will have everyone line up and launch all at once. Whoever lands first is out of the next round of competition, then everyone lines up again, and we keep going until there's just two left, and whoever lands last is the winner. Points are awarded, and there's actually a scoreboard online, and they keep track of everyone's scores throughout the year and actually throughout their membership in the FAC. So it's a great club, inexpensive, not a lot of equipment, and the models themselves, probably $5 in materials, and some of them can be built in just a few evenings, but a lot of them can take a lot longer than that, maybe as much as a month or so of free time. But very worthwhile hobby, and a great group of guys.
Elise and Robert and
Mike.
And some people call me Rob.
Rob.
Or Robbie.
I like that.
So, we already have a Rob.
What we're doing here today is we're flying free flight rubber band powered airplanes. So once you let them go, they go where you've trimmed them, and you don't have any.
Like, what do you mean by trimmed them?
Well, you have to set them up so that, because you don't have a pilot, you have to point the engines and balance the airplanes and add in different features like washout and things like that, so that the airplane wants to be stable and react to the power that you're applying to it, because the rubber band, when it's all wound up, has a tremendous amount of torque in it, but that can roll the airplane over, so you have to counteract that. And then it wants to steer the airplane, the propeller wants to steer the airplane, so you have to counteract that. And all these forces playing in with each other need to be balanced, and that's trimming. It sounds easy, and it's 20 hours to build the airplane and 40 years to get it to fly like some of these experts. All of them will fly. It's just a measure of degrees of success.
So are you going for distance or length of flight?
Length of flight. So for an airplane like this, to get a minute of flight out of it, for me, is a great achievement. For them, the guys over there, they get them way up to 1,000 feet up in the sky, and they're flying around in the thermals and stuff like that. So that's the difference between an intermediate and an expert. We have one airplane that landed about 10 miles away in the middle of the Merrimack River, and someone saw our Facebook page, and as we were lamenting the loss of our airplane, she was calling us on the phone saying, I was paddling my kayak and it landed 10 feet in the river in front of me 10 miles away.
From here?
From Amesbury, Massachusetts. And we've had some our members in Canada. They launched in Toronto, and don't hold me to the exact place, but say New Brunswick. The Mounties called them up and said, we have your airplane, your name is written on the wing. Would you like it back? And they sent it back from one Mountie station to the next. Finally got it back to the people.
So that was a good run.
Yeah, there was one in Westover. It got caught in a thermal, and it landed in a little girl's birthday party just as she was blowing the cakes out down in Chatham on the Cape. And she said, what a great birthday!
Cool.
Isn't that neat? So I'm going to wind up this thing. We haven't
Which airplane?
trimmed any of these. This airplane is an F7F Tiger Cat that got rained on inside the box, so I'm not going to give any guarantees as to whether it'll fly or not. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 30.
So you have to do each color.
60. Correct. And this winder here is a 10-to-1 winder, so that's 600 winds. And normally I'll put about 800 or 900 winds in it, so that it'll have enough power. But when you don't know if it's going to fly or not, well, matter of fact, you can even see the windshield is sitting inside the cockpit here. See the windshield?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
kind of broken
that-
up.
Yeah, somewhere sitting in the bottom of the box is the remnants of my windshield. You can see all the crack ups, and this one right here is one of the favorites. We don't talk politics at we don't talk politics at the flying event. But when I pull out the Hillary and the Trump one, people look at me and say, "That is great," and then they stop. And that's as far as they will go with that one. We have a class of flying called fiction flyers, airplanes that you might have seen in like the movies or magazine, and I want to enter that one in fiction flyer. See if it never really was an actual airplane, and just see the judges bite their tongue. Yeah, see who wants to start. All right, let's give this one a try.
Okay. I don't even know because I've never seen it once.
All right, ready? Let's see what happens here.
That's good.
That's real good. Yeah.
But the land was like,
Yeah. So see how it needs a little bit of trimming, and see how difficult it is
but I
to
like
wind
the
up.
flying.
This one is really hard to throw.
Did you hear what he just said?
No, don't say it again.
Oh, it looks so cool because it has biplanes. I like those biplanes.
Yeah. Oh, but it flies better than mine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Isn't that nice?
Not too bad.
Whoa, it looks like it just flew in here. I hope it doesn't fly in the lake like the other one.
Yeah, that's right. I'm with you.
Oh my gosh, that is so good, man. I feel like that's...
All right, Chris.
What do you got there?
This is called the Big Cat Embryo. It's a little 50 square inch maximum category. And I have it set to do a nice big loop, and hopefully it'll come back to me in about a minute or so. So we'll see how it goes.
Good luck.
Thank you.
So what do you have now?
This is called the Flying Aces moth. It's kind of a standard in the model stick and tissue building world. I think it's actually been designed from the 1930s. Very simple, basic, lightweight, flies very well. Maybe at least 2-minute flights on these. You can see I put a large rubber band in here that'll stretch out and put maybe, I don't know, maybe 1,000 winds on it. And it should really sail around pretty nicely.
Yes, this is a French pre-war general aviation airplane called the Moomoo Song. And it had an extra large tail on it, as you can see. And this was, they thought it would control the airplane and make it easier to land. The interesting thing was that it worked exactly the opposite. And it didn't help the airplane at all, and it seems to have transferred to the model. So this is not always a reliable flyer, but we'll see how it goes. You know, maybe the French have something against me or whatever, you know. Turning too tight, so I'm going to put a little dab of clay on this wing to make that outside wing heavier, and it may level out the airplane and have it fly a little bit less erratically. So we'll see. We'll be back. Okay, this is a Mitchell B10. It was an ultralight flying wing. Originally it was a glider, but then they decided that they would put chainsaw engines on the back of them. So the actual airplane looks pretty much like this one, because this is a scale version of it. Flying wings are very difficult to get to fly, so...
You like the challenge?
Well, yeah, it's kind of fun, so we'll see how it flies, okay?
All right.
All right. Uh-oh. Oh, I'm living right with that.
Nice.
This is the P51 Mustang. This is a 16-inch span scale model. Trying to hopefully finish it in time to fly it in the contest. Been a little bit of a mad dash. Wasn't even covered till this morning, but hopefully we'll get it to go well. This is a combat veteran from World War II with the colors of it, so it should hopefully so it qualifies for the World War II event. That's what I'm hoping to get to fly it in.
This is a Granville Brothers GB Model E, Warner powered, built in Springfield, Mass. As a matter of fact, yeah, flew in the 1930s, 31, I think this one was.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
This hobby with the young and old are building of mechanical aptitude and that dexterity, dexterity that kids really don't get today with video games. So working with your hands and figuring out how to build things and cut angles is very valuable, and it's very beneficial in this hobby. Always thinking about how to solve small issues and thinking of ways to do things better. So it's very beneficial in that respect.